week on the IWA Wrestling Network, scheduled for one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Making his way to the ring is none other than the War International Junior Heavyweight Champion, Lionheart, Chris Jericho, 224 pounds, out of Los Angeles, California. Natural, a very big success, this young man in Japan. And let's not forget that he made a name for himself in North America, wrestling for none other than Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Oh, Joe, he and Lance Storm were a tag team in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They were the hottest tag team ever in Smoky Mountain Wrestling since the Rock and Roll Express. But Chris Jericho has since gone on to become the War International Junior Heavyweight Wrestling Champion of the world. And as you see that gold belt, that signifies that he is the best junior heavyweight in the world. And we have him right here in the IWA, Chris Jericho Lionheart.
And Lionheart has taken on Steve Gillespie, 220 pounds, out of Calgary, Alberta. A man that can't be taken that lightly. I'll tell you one thing about Jericho, though. If a man like Jim Cornette, who runs SMW Smoky Mountain Wrestling, was impressed with him and Lance Storm as a tag team known as the Thrill Seekers back then, you got to know that this is going to be one of the top stars in the game today, if not already one of the great junior heavyweights.
Joe, I've mentioned this in the past. You know, Chris Jericho has asked us not to mention him as part of a tag team entity known as the Thrill Seekers. He's gone on and he's tried to become a singles wrestler, and he's done very well for himself. But, you know, we shouldn't keep referring to it. I think making reference to it once is fine, but we don't need to beat it to death. He's a singles wrestler now and very successful.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you know, there was a bit of an aggressive change in Chris Jericho a few weeks back, and I brought up the whole tag team aspect with Jericho, and, you know, him and Lance. Oh! How unbelievable!
Spinning flying wheel kick, Joe, right to the face of Steve Gillespie. He ain't going to get any uglier, but it almost knocked him out.
And Jericho almost shunned me from that interview when I was trying to talk to him about his days with Lance Storm. What's going on about?
Well, Joe, you know, you bother people. I've been telling you that for years.
Here we go, leapfrog now, Lionheart, clothesline.
He just necktied him. I mean, Jericho has just impressed me so much since he's come back here. You know, I've wrestled both he and Lance Storm in the past, but I'll tell you what, Jericho is very impressive, very aggressive. He's gone from being a real pretty boy, babyface type of a guy like Lance Storm to kind of a psychotic rock and roll Chris Benoit, if you will.
Well, I'll tell you what, I always loved him as a tag team competitor with Lance Storm, but what an impressive singles record he has put together, not only in the IWA, but all over the world. You don't get to hold a title in Japan as the War International Junior Heavyweight Champion unless you're one of the best.
I tell you what, Joe, I mentioned before he was recently, last year actually voted the #7 junior heavyweight in Japan. And if you're talking about guys like Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Jushin Thunder Liger, Shinjiro Otani, some of the greatest junior heavyweights in the world, and Chris Jericho is right at the top of that list. And I'll tell you what, he doesn't look like a junior heavyweight, Joe. He looks like a professional bodybuilder. And look at the blood coming from the mug of Steve Gillespie.
Yes, Gillespie has been cut open a bit. And look at this maneuver right here, working on the small of the back of Gillespie, getting stretched out, if you will, by Lionheart Chris Jericho.
Very good, Joe. You know, I'll tell you what, that's a submission move. And if I'm right now, Jericho's going to start laying the boots to Steve Gillespie.
Short suplex coming there, a snap suplex, if you will, that does a little bit more damage to the lower back of Gillespie. And Lionheart, Chris Jericho, got the crowd behind him, showing a little bit more aggression since he got back here to the IWA.
He's trying to hook right here, Joe. He's trying to hook his man into a stretch plum. And what he needs to do is get that other free arm that Gillespie has there and hook it with his leg and then cross-face him and get it in real tight. He doesn't have it real tight, Joe, but that was the move he's trying to get a stretch plum. And Gillespie may have tapped if he had hooked it.
I'll tell you what, give Gillespie some credit for lasting this long so far in this match with Jericho, who maybe telegraphed that maneuver a little bit, took his time going into the corner, and now Gillespie trying to take advantage of the situation. Oh, a poke to the eyes there. I'll tell you what, you're getting a good look right now at the Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and that mane of his, and I'll tell you something, good to see that man be successful, because I'd hate to see what he spends on hair products in a month.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you what, Chris Jericho, you know, he's the type of guy like myself. I've told you, when you have hair like the Natural, or even hair like Chris Jericho, I go out to the bar and people mistake me for Brad Pitt all the time.
Brad Pitt? I'd mistake you for an armpit. How's that?
Oh, Joe, that's very funny for a man that when he takes his shirt off, looks like he's wearing a sweater vest.
Unbelievable.
Look at this, Joe. He's trying to hook him for a top rope Frankensteiner, but look at Jericho with a headbutt.
A headbutt's going to change the mind of Steve Gillespie, and now look who's up on the staircase now. Lionheart, Chris Jericho. Gillespie in a bit of an flying drop kick from the top rope. What impact that had, and Lionheart is back on fire. Somebody woke up the Lion.
Unbelievable drop kick. There, corkscrew elbow right under the chin. And Jericho now, he's got to learn not to worry about the hillbillies in the audience, Joe, and stay on his opponent.
Lionheart, Chris Jericho going to work now. Look at that, beautiful.
Oh, that's called a fisherman buster, and that's another move he's picked up in Japan. Unbelievable athlete. Joe, it's a lion salt! A lion salt! That's the end.
I'll tell you what, the Lion does not sleep tonight in the makes of Lionheart, Chris Jericho, and I'll tell you what, you were talking about fishing, and that's all Gillespie's got left, maybe a little bit of a fishing trip. Your winner, Lionheart, Chris Jericho, on IWA In Your Face Wrestling.
What a performer, Joe.